Welcome, kayak anglers. You are tuning into the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network, kayak fishing's best network of shows with great hosts covering all things kayak fishing, bringing you special guests covering topics such as inshore fishing, river trips, gear reviews, angler profiles, tournament news, and more. Sit back, relax. Let's do this.
What is going on, everybody? I'm your host, Adam Pross, and I welcome you to another episode of the River Run podcast. This one is a new segment that I got coming out. It is known as and is called Calm Water. Calm Water is a positive mindset where we kind of sit down, talk about life and the challenges and kind of how we pulled through. And we use the outdoors, the passion for, fishing, hunting, whatever it is that kind of you use to get through it. Welcome to this episode. Appreciate everybody that's liking, subscribing, following along, on the Instagram page, YouTube. Thank you. But yeah, as we get into this is kind of going to be coming out just about every other month as we roll through the different segments that we'll have on the podcast. But yeah, Calm Water. The title, I'll give you a little sneak peek about the title. The title, Calm Water. The idea is that I truly believe that each and every one of us, as human beings, no matter what we've gone through, what we've, the challenges we've faced, wherever that lies for you, the demons that you think, you've had to wrestle with and whatnot to get through. Calm water is what everybody deserves. Calm water is, that part in your life where, it finally, like, I think of it as a kayak angler or just, idea of, anybody who's out on the water. Calm water is probably the most peaceful time to be out there. And so this whole calm water kind of came to me as an idea to kind of put through and just kind of share my own story too of my sobriety and kind of what I faced and how I use the outdoors to help me get through what I needed to get through. And that's a story within itself. But it was a rough time, and I won't lie, and a lot of there's a lot of good support out there, but sometimes you kind of do need nature to kind of set you free. And for me, kayak fishing was something that was it was my serenity. It was the idea that, I could kind of go out there and I could just kind of channel what I needed to and just find that inner peace. And calm water, when I was definitely going through some stuff in my life, and somebody reached out, and, I'm not going to drop any names or whatnot, but this individual just kind of picked me up when I was down in the dumps, and he just said, brother, you deserve calm water. And I just that was probably one of the most powerful comments that somebody had ever said to me. And I was touched. I won't lie. And so that's kind of for me, I thought of it and I just kind of kept going back and forth. And then I was like, well, you know, these stories are, these are, if you care to share, these are great stories. Like these stories are resilience, and this is like our way of like getting through what we got through. You know what I mean? And hearing it from other people who are willing to share, because you know for anyone out there who's definitely going through a hard time or feeling like they're struggling, um calm water will find you. There's a lot that you need to, you're gonna maybe need to feel like you need to go through. You got to grow through what you go through. And for me, I found that calm water. And so mm, one of the biggest parts was, maybe I can do something with this. Maybe I can put something into the podcast that, it's great to talk about river fishing. It's great to talk about smallies, but there's a lot of people probably, that you might follow, or you might actually be, and you look at some of these people who have actually reached out and spoken about, their own struggle and how, they've gotten through it. And, I hope by doing this, maybe we can just change somebody's life one day. Maybe we can just kind of give somebody else a glimpse that, what, when you think that you are all done, you don't got nothing, what, I hope you have a lot, because, there are people out there that care about everybody, and, everybody deserves calm water. So, yeah, that's just kind of like, for me, is like the backdrop to this episode. My guest tonight, this guy this guy is great. Ryan Parker has, since I reached out to him the first time about doing Down the Scuffer Hole, which was loads of fun, and I'm looking forward to doing another episode. I brought him on the podcast, and we were talking about river fishing, and his success on the Kayak Adventure series. And he's also mentioned to me about the his own inner workings of trying to get past coming out of the military and just kind of adapting back to the civilian lifestyle, and just kind of those inner workings, those demons that you got to work through. And I was like, man, this is exactly the type of stories that I think we should share. So, without further ado, let me present Mr. Ryan Parker.
What's up?
How's it going, man?
Going good.
Thank you. Always. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast again. Dude, I gotta say, like, this would be your third time stopping by, but like, I really appreciate you coming on for this episode, because like, I think your story, what you were talking about, on the previous one, your glimpse is just that quick glimpse, and I was just like, man, we gotta dive into this story. And I think just like you probably see it all the time, people who are in the mix of going through that change, where you're going from previous tours, and the military lifestyle as a active member, and then coming home and becoming this, whether it's a father figure, husband, being back to being a brother. That is a pretty big change.
Yeah. All all of the above. That was like when I started, I left the day after I graduated high school. So I was
Like,
17. So I didn't, my life experience as an adult started, like very quickly in uh, a lot different way than most people.
so let's just hold this up here. Like, you graduated high school.
Yep.
and you're like was that something that like you had always wanted to do? Like you joined
Not
the military, or that was just like, you
it
know what, I'm
was
not sure.
no, it was kind of like I moved to a small town as a kid, and I was like bouncing back and forth between like living there with my mom and then going back to the city and staying with dad for a little while. And what I and it was kind of my way out, I guess we'll say. Like I was like, I don't
Yeah.
want to stay in this town of 1,100 people. This isn't this is I'm speaking like this is like my 17-year-old brain was like, man, like this is not the place for me. Um, and so I think I was like skateboarding down like at some point like down the street, and I saw a Marine recruiter, and I was like, I'm gonna go talk to that guy because like I think I can, like, that's a way out. That's um I knew that like there's incentives for college and other stuff like that through that. So I was like, well, let me go talk to this guy, see what it's all about. And a couple days later, my mom gets home and she's like, Ryan, what'd you do? Because he was like, the recruiter sitting down, like eating like a plate of spaghetti that my grandma had made him.
Oh wow.
And I come into the room, I was like, well, nothing yet, because I need your signature. Like, I'm 17, I'm not allowed to do this on like yet. So and my grandpa was in the military. Both of my grandfathers were in the
Yeah.
military, stuff like that. Like, I don't come from like a big military family, but
Hmm.
it was around. So, and it wasn't like, I think my mom knows how hard-headed I am too. So like, I was like, well, we can either do it now or we'll just wait until I turn 18 and I'll just do it then. Like, she's
Yeah.
like, well, like shit. Yeah.
You had your mind made up.
Okay. Yeah. So, the paperwork gets signed, graduate high school, go to a couple graduation parties, and I am literally like getting driven up to Detroit on a plane down to South Carolina, for basic training and stuff. And ended up, you already know your job, like going into all this stuff. And so I was already slotted to go to School of Infantry. I feel like the timeline is important here. I should throw out, this is 2004. That's when all this is happened, like 2003, 2004. So of
That's
course we all know
cool.
what's kind of
Yeah.
going on then. So yeah, Marine Corps Infantry, 2004. I get through boot camp, School of Infantry. I'm in my unit by the end of that year. And what was it? It was February of 2005. I was in Iraq for the first time.
Okay, hold up here. Hold on. So
So,
you graduated high school.
yep.
You go up to Detroit, down to South Carolina,
Yep.
and the world is becoming a pretty crazy place out in the Middle East there. And within a year of training, you are already stepping down
Yep.
in a full-on war zone.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm like, I turned 18 in boot camp, so I'm like barely 18 at this point. Like,
yeah. And you're okay. So we're going from, growing up in, and you're growing up in America. So, you got all these things, and you're 18 and you're going across the world to a place where, everything's just falling apart. Like,
yeah.
you got war going on. People are, you see the casualties, and you're living this. Like, how
Yep.
much of a shell shock was that for you? Like, or were you just kind of already building yourself up for it, or was it
I
something?
think, yeah, like there's definitely like mental preparation that happens. I mean, like on your own, right? Like you have a perception of what this is going to be. I think that's to an extent different for each individual, but of course training, you train for all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like so I had been through you go through boot camp. That's like you're learning how to do all the basic military stuff, and then you go to your job school. So I went to School of Infantry, and I learned how to do rifle company things, mortars, machine guns, all that stuff. While I get sent to my unit, and there's additional schools and training. You're just always training. That's all. Like everything is geared towards that, right?
Yeah.
And,
You want to be prepared.
Yeah. So at that point, at some point I went through a combat lifesavers course, which is I'm going to call that like EMT light.
Wow.
It's you're not, you're mostly just getting trained on how to like mass trauma stuff. Like, okay, stop the bleeding, start the breathing. Like, you're dealing, like you're getting taught how to patch up gunshot wounds and
in the mix of everything else going on.
And, things that you will likely encounter. I mean, at that time it was like you may
the percentage was high.
Shot, yeah.
Yeah, like
encountering this.
You're going to face, and these aren't just probably like, not that we should really drive deep into that part, but that's not really the that's got to be gruesome. Like that's not, and these are also people obviously within your teams too, and that's got to be a bit of a weight to carry,
Well, there's there's the training side of it, but then there's like the mental preparation that you do for this, because these are not like your unit becomes like, this is your family. Like by this time, like even in that short amount of time, it's tight knit. Like these are legitimately like, these are your brothers. And so you work mentally through this stuff. Like in most of it, I don't know, you kind of compartmentalize little bits of it, like, I'm not gonna think about like, oh, what if that happens to Penny, or so and so or whatever, and like you kind of put that out of the back of your mind and just let the training kick in for if it happens. But there's like, it's always there, right? Like, okay, like, man, if we kick down this door and something goes south and I have to, like, I've had that thought and conjured up my own plan of like, I think I could like pull a pin on my own grenade and make sure those guys are out of there, and I'll just clear everything. Like that's a serious conversation I've had with myself at 18 years old that like people don't have, right?
And let's be serious, like, and out of all of your, like, let's say your friends, classmates, whatnot, how many of those were people that joined the military at that time?
I think one other kid that I graduated. I went to like I said, I grew up in a town of like 1,100 people, so my graduating class was like 44 kids.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was not huge.
Yeah, not a big one,
but like one other one went to the Air Force, I think, and that was it.
So 18 years old, like I like, and when I was 18, like I was, I probably was doing, I wasn't doing that, you know what I mean? And
I mean, I've thought about like, what if I didn't go the route that I did? Like, what the heck would have happened to me? Would I've ever found myself here? Or, like,
would you be Ryan Parker, who you are today? Like, I
mean, I think simply put, no, because like every little choice that we make and like these, kind of milestone moments, like for better or worse, they help shape us. And I think that how you learn to handle them shapes you the most, right? Like this is that old man saying, like, it builds character. It does, but you're the one building it, right? Like how you handle this and these moments, I think, is what's important about it all. And I'll be the first to say I did not handle it well,
Yeah.
for a while. I didn't realize it sometimes too. Like, you get like from 18 on, like this was my life for just shy of 7 years.
Wow.
Um
7 years.
yeah.
You just like, and
It
like,
was, yeah, so like,
uh,
and then it just became normal, right? Like this was, yeah, like it just, that was
now,
like my normal day to day, right? Like just running through these scenarios and having all these experiences and stuff like that, and like, um,
yeah, like as somebody who has never experienced that, um, I maybe the saying goes like you gotta grow through what you go through, and to shape like who you are today as Ryan Parker. I don't think that it would be interesting to sit down with you, and maybe you've thought this of yourself, is sometimes we sit down and we think about the, like, well, what if I didn't do that? Like, what if I chose to go left instead of right?
yeah,
And yeah, for sure, like those are all great questions, but when you're halfway across the world, those questions are like kind of like, well, I can't just pick up and go
yeah,
home. I can't
yep,
just, oh, I'm just gonna turn at the next street and jump on the highway and I'll be home. Like I am, you are out there. I am gone. I am in a whole new, and like to say that even being out there, like, was that, what was that feeling like? You know what I mean? Like you're in a country where really everybody, you guys are there, but at the same time everybody's like, I want you out of there, like
yeah. Well, it was interesting. That's a terrible terrible
it,
lead into that.
no, that's all
No,
right.
it was a complete shock, right? Because
Yeah.
the perception going into that was like that you were going to a place to do a great amount of good, right?
Yeah.
And then you get there and everyone that you encounter is like, no, the best thing you could do is just leave. And I was like,
Yeah.
well, like I personally don't have that choice.
Yeah.
This
I
is,
have a job to do,
right,
and
like I can't just book a flight and leave
yeah.
here, and but like your reality gets flipped, right? Like you've been,
Yeah.
for lack of a better term, I guess, informed one thing, and then you get
Get
into the
there.
reality of the actual situation. You're like, everything that I was kind of like fed is absolute bullshit, right? Like,
Yeah.
this isn't what's going on, and that's not what is. So
That probably creates a bit of like some inner anger at the same time,
yeah,
that like you feel kind of like I'm
you
giving,
feel duped.
yeah, you feel
um,
betrayed that you
yeah, like, man,
you've gone out
what
there,
what
and
the heck was this?
yeah,
You know, but like, okay, I'm in this situation now. Like, I don't get to leave it. How do we handle this? How do I handle it? How do we try to make this not as terrible as it might end up otherwise?
yeah, and
Um,
you also
I mean, and
probably,
the reality is like, because we were there, like there was a lot of hostility towards us that was like,
and
I mean, to extreme levels, of course. Like it,
oh
and so that becomes, like, okay, like maybe I'm not going to do a world of good here like I thought, but all right, like self-preservation kicks in, to an
oh,
extent, and you say
very
like,
well
okay,
put.
well, all right, I think I think how do I get through this? All right, like,
Yeah,
and it becomes a little bit of an individual effort to an extent, but like like you're there with, again, your family, your little brotherhood,
we
and it's like,
carry each
so
other.
yeah, it's like, okay, well, I can't get through this if all these guys don't get
Yeah,
through
and
this
like
too,
they
right?
need me to
Right.
be they need me to be 100% here. Like they need me to like, focus and do what I got to do. And at the same time, because if I'm not, like, in those situations that could be catastrophic. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's
And
sad that
exist.
it
Yeah.
happens.
I think a lot of that, again, you're, I don't know if it's necessarily taught. Maybe it's taught kind of subliminally through some of the training or whatever, or if it may just be like a, kind of defensive human reaction to
Yeah.
compartmentalize so much of that, right? Like you just put it away for later. And especially in those moments, like I can very much remember it was a very day to day, like, okay, we're not, yesterday was whatever, like whatever happened yesterday was yesterday. Today we're on today now. We're not
Yeah.
tomorrow's a whole
We got to
day
get
away,
through
right? Like
today.
we're one day at a time, literally. Um,
That's a
you
really
know,
good approach to have. I would think a
and
situation like that.
yeah, and every day was different, some better than others.
Yeah.
But at some point though, you get very, like, the longer you do things, you get very good at compartmentalizing these things. You get very good at just
Yeah. Gonna put
shoving
this
things back,
back
pushing
in the
things
box.
down, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and that's something that I think they've gotten much better at it. But it was very much still a negative stigma around, like, you don't, we called him the wizard, like any, like the naval psychiatrists, psychologists and stuff, we all referred to them as the wizard.
The wizard, eh?
Oh no, you don't go talk to the wizard, man. Like, right, it was like, there was always a negative connotation around that, like, and so you figure it out. You However you got to do it. I don't know how much beer you need to drink or whatever
Yeah.
you have to do, but you stuff it down, you keep your mouth shut and you get the job done. Like that was a lot of the mentality. And
Do you would you say that the wizard was because they would say like, you don't want to go talk to the wizard? Would you say that the reason you don't want to talk to the wizard is because maybe you felt like the wizard wouldn't really understand because the wizard wasn't
I think that
there that time when
yes,
these
I
things
mean,
were going
I
on?
think there's a lot of that. Like when you're that tightly connected with those guys that are around you, with I think those particular shared experiences,
Yeah.
it is like that is your experience.
Exactly.
And so much of that too, with we'll call like social norms, just basic human normal stuff, right? Like
Yeah.
we're not supposed to steal, we're not supposed to kill each other, like we're taught all this, like as kids, like these are laws, these are things that people don't do, they're not okay to do, right? And now you have this little group of people that you're like, man, like we've done some stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like we've experienced some things that aren't like all this for 18 to 20 some odd years. All of us were told, like, man, that's like, you don't do that, right? And so
It
I think there's like, in the back of your mind, you're like, man, like I don't want to share that because it's like, what if I say something that incriminates me in a way? Like, because I think we all, at
yeah.
least probably here, especially in the way that the US is laid out, it's like, like you think about it like in ways like that, of like, man, like I don't want to throw myself under the bus because I needed to talk to somebody or whatever.
Yeah. Because in a high stressful situation that maybe at some point something or someone or whatnot, and it just didn't pan out the way that the whole thing was supposed to go from the get-go, and then next thing sit down with somebody and you're thinking they don't understand it, and now
Yeah.
they're flipping it and they're like,
Well,
well, why would you do that? Like that
yeah.
doesn't
And then there's like,
that's not protocol,
yeah, the other side of that too is, there's some of the events that you just like, that you, or certainly that I've experienced, like like I remember, because it's, let's see, what am I? I'm 39 now, and it has like, so it's taken me, like, this has all been a journey, like up to this point, you know.
Yeah,
But like there's a big chunk of years where it's like I don't know how to even explain this to somebody,
yeah.
you know,
Because
because
you're still processing it. You
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah,
Like your
it's like,
head
but
is
this
you're
wasn't like, yeah, it wasn't a car
still
accident,
going,
like,
dude. This isn't
yeah,
and not to take that away from anybody else, but
right,
yeah,
yeah,
you
that,
made
like,
it
that's
quite
a
a point.
traumatic experience. I've been in car accidents. That's
Yeah,
awful, but like, yeah, not to downplay that, but like this is like one of these little events can be like the equivalent of like
yeah,
so much, you know, so much, so like all at once. And then you're like, the expectation of you is to experience that. So like, let's maybe we can use that analogy. It's like if you were in a car accident, the
yeah,
expectation of you is then to get up. Okay, are you injured in any sort of way that can prevent you from doing continuing on, getting in another car and driving?
yeah,
Okay, great. If you're all right, get in that car and continue on. You know, that's it. Like, okay. uh do I get to like take a breather for a day? No, it just,
no,
off you
you're
go. um
right
so
back in the combine. You know,
yeah.
like
And
it's
you know, I mean,
you're
I had some buddies that like they took shrapnel from explosions, and like we
dude,
saw them a week later, you know, like
yeah,
stitches aren't even out. um so I think like the pressure of that expectation too, again, like you're living day by day at this point, but that's a
you
lot for anybody, I think, to handle. And I didn't, none of that ever occurred to me until well after. um
when you were there though, like just was there a bit of a, like an adrenaline to it too?
yeah,
Because you know, like you go
yeah,
from you're in America, you have, your home, whatever. You go halfway across the world and you're at in this place where there's people who unfortunately don't want to see you there and will do anything by any means to have you leave there, or whether you get on a plane or thankfully never to leave it on the casket side. But like it is that idea that you do go on those on a mission, or you're out there on a patrol or whatever it was, and it's like, all right, well, we've seen we know it because we're literally like eat sleep, we're living it. It's day to day. I'm sure you can hear it going on all around you.
yeah,
And then you leave the gates and it's like, all right,
yeah. It's, well, and that's the thing is, like it's not like we're it's not like you're in a big armored compound where it's like, once we get inside of these, dirt filled walls, we're safe. It's, there is no like end of the day, right? Like it
yeah,
is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every single day. For the duration of your deployment. Our deployments were roughly 7 months at a time. And 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 it, yeah, I missed part. I'm trying to remember part of your question, but it
just
was,
like the adrenaline
yes, yeah, yeah,
aspect
yeah.
of it,
Yeah, it's, and again, this becomes such a normal thing, right? Like
yeah,
you don't I don't know, I guess like you don't really realize that it's happening, but like I remember getting done with all of this, and it was like, where is that? Like, because it was such a part of like
the
just day to
adrenaline
day life.
aspect of
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. Like there is, and there's like other things too. Like when my son was born, I was like, wait, like all this time I thought like I knew what like being euphorically happy was, right?
Yeah,
And I think like, and that was like one of these like weird moments for me, that like it was like I thought I was through most of this, right? But it like stirred a bunch of stuff up because I was like, wait, have I been like that numb for that long? Like that I've never felt that before, right?
Yeah.
And so you have to, you quite like even now, like, you know, like like I've gone back and I've questioned myself with so much of this. I'm like, man, like how much did that like actually change me? Um,
Yeah.
and and I think the reality is it's like because I think like 18, 19, you know, 20-year-old me was like, nah, this isn't, brush it off, brush it off. It's not like, it's just it's normal. And you don't realize, like, I think how much you do change from it. And at some point, someone told me, like, years down the road, like, I think I was stationed in Burma at the time, and I had my regional first sergeant, who was started his career in the military as an infantry guy too. He was the first person that ever like asked me like, "Hey, how are you doing?"
Yeah.
But at some point,
How did that feel though? Like
uh,
somebody finally
it,
like
uh,
and somebody you
it
know,
totally caught me off guard
yeah.
because you know here's somebody that I hadn't really served with, you know, like I hadn't been through all those experiences with, but had some shared experiences, I think.
Do,
And I didn't know that, but like, man, like it caught me off guard because I was like, you get good at masking it, right? And the longer you do it, the better you get
well, you see
with it.
you see
Um,
your guys in your team, you know what I mean?
yeah,
And you're all masking it really. Like or
yeah,
I don't know. Like do you guys like
it is, and I think it's that that compartmentalization, that push it down, shove it back, and again, like it's a defense mechanism. That's how you cope and deal with the expectations, right? Of, I think going through this day to day to day, you almost have to do it if you're gonna function at that level and to be that ready all the time. Um,
yeah.
but when like that when that first sergeant asked me that, like it caught me off guard. Like, wait, like hang on, how can you see through this, right?
Yeah.
Like,
What do
um,
you what is he like got some
right,
weird sense
yeah,
that
like
he tells something wrong
huh?
right now?
And I think maybe it was just his own journey and maybe and shared experience that I think maybe he could just tell to an extent. But I think
Yeah.
he also took the time, in that same conversation, he took the time and he said, "Man, like I don't want to say you got the shaft, but like, buddy, you went Iraq, Haiti, like here, like." You kind of got the shaft, dude. And I think he just realized, like, man, here you've been 5 years without a break, without a single break. um, and I think part of that was like him, like saying, like, you
Take a
doing
break.
okay? Do you need
Yeah.
a break?
Take a break.
Yeah, and
And that's probably why, because you didn't want to take a break. You were just like,
I I I think it was just
I need to get back, like
such a regular normal thing at that point that like this is just, it's been every single, that was my life for years at that point. And he said something that was very profound to me, and I'm trying to remember exactly how he said it because it was he was the first person that ever said, like, basically he's in a far more poetic way. He said he was the first person I think that ever said, like, hey, it's okay to not be okay. Um,
yeah.
he said something along the lines of, like, it's, but I can't quite remember it, but yeah, he
No,
basically
that's
said,
very
hey man, like,
profound.
hey, like, it's okay to not be okay. I think he, when you're in a unit, like and you're in this world, right? Like everybody else that exists around that orbit, like they know what happens to certain units and things
Yeah.
like that. And I mean, I've been out for quite some time now, and I've run into other guys that are, former Marines and stuff like that. And they're like, "Oh, where'd you serve?" And I was like, 3-2. And I've literally had people go, "Oh," like, "Oh," like other Marines that are like, "Oh,"
They understand.
and they're like, like, yeah. I until I had that experience, like a decade later, like it was like, did not everybody go through this?
Yeah. Why was I so special?
Yeah, like what do you mean? Oh,
Yeah.
because again, like when you shift everything to that small of a moment, on that day-to-day scale, it's like I think it skews the timeline up, like mentally a little bit, like
Yeah.
when you're
Is
yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I think back to, like, like I think most kids that like had I've gone the college route, I've gone
Yeah.
and I've done that now, and I know that what you think about during that is like, like, okay, like here's this semester, but like
Yeah.
you have these milestones. You're looking at, this midterm, this final, next semester, this, that, like there's always this ahead. And
Yeah.
my 18, 19, 20-year-old brain was like, I have to make it to this evening, and maybe I get to eat tonight, and then I'm going to try and make it through the night. And then I'm gonna, like, and so that's like, I mean, like complete opposite end of the spectrum. And
Do you think though that you're like just kind of going back to, people talking about like bringing up that point, like like was that kind of like a trigger to kind of going back? And when, they brought up, serving in that, that infantry, I was down here, and everybody's like, oh, and you're like, kind of like, well, why weren't you there? Like, why was I part of the select few, or I was one of those lucky lottery people to then kind of have somebody go back and be like, and you kind of be like, was it kind of like a trigger in some sense too, that kind of bring back the idea, like, wow, like why, not resentment, but just
I think it adds some scale. It like the first time it happened, like I think it gave me more of a perspective of the scale of it all.
Yeah.
I guess, like, I don't think it's, right to call it rate trauma, but because to each their own with that. Like nobody can say your traumatic event wasn't traumatic, right? Like if it was traumatic to you, great. Like not great, but it was traumatic. Like there's no, you can't.
It's left an imprint
you can't
on
diminish that. You can't downplay that at all. But it, like, I honestly think that it, like, when that happened to me the first time, like when it helped me realize, like, oh no, like this is like, it's it's like, I think to some extent it was like comforting in a way to say, like, it validated talking to people and getting help and, going through this healing process, because like when somebody else who's been trained to do all this stuff too is like, oh, you're like, oh, so it's not expected of me to deal with this all on my own, right? Like I think, like, to me that was a little bit of the takeaway, and maybe it's just because it didn't happen until I had started realizing all this, and your brain changes as you get older, and I think that you realize
110%,
like,
dude. I
like,
agree with that.
My 20-year-old's brain was like completely
dude,
a complete different animal.
I could only imagine, and I'm like, I'm not trying to laugh at it.
No,
I was chuckling about when you said my 20-year-old brain, and here I am, 40, and
like,
I'm thinking 20 years ago, like,
yeah,
I'm like going,
like
we were at polar opposite, like, spectrums here, man. Like, no.
Well, I mean, I have an example of, like, kind of that is like 20 something years old, and like, let's see. So like when I got out, like I told a couple stories from like not, things I thought were pretty tame. And like, there's people that are like, that is not okay to talk about.
Dude,
Like just
wow.
blurt out. And
Yeah.
it wasn't like, it wasn't anything crazy or grotesque. It was just like an experience that happened to me. You know, that I had always like, it was laughable, I think, in the group of people that I was around at
with
the time.
the right crew.
Right.
Yeah. Probably those who were there with you at that time. You know?
But then you like it in that moment. This is like shortly, like not terribly long after I gotten out, but like, man, like that was certainly an alienating feeling of like, okay,
yeah, something wrong there.
But like it sunk in, and I was like, that was one of those moments that like, you know, outside of like a lot of that like obvious transition stuff of like, you know, like just you realize like, man, I don't really like crowds anymore and things like that.
Oh, dude, I can only imagine.
But the like that was one of those moments that it really sunk in, that it was like, I am not like everybody else around me, you know, like that, like what I've experienced is very unfortunately unique. And then
well
like when you get to that point, I think that's when, or at least for me, when I kind of got to that point, that was when it dawned on me. I was like, well, like how the hell do I interact with everybody else then? Because I've only ever interacted with people that have kind of lived in that military culture, that understanding of that. And go ahead.
I was just kind of thinking of something here. Like, you know, you talked about the whole aspect of like crowds and not being that, you know, thrilled about being in crowds, and then, you know, you're sharing these experiences, and I'm thinking of like, you know, and I'm just thinking as being somebody on the outside who's never experienced what you know, what you've gone through. I could see how maybe hearing story or having something shared, you know, kind of being like, you know, maybe not getting the same response that I did with the guys or the women or my team that I went with, who was like, you know, you might have been, you know, laughing and God knows what, you know, picking each other back up, to sharing it with, you know, somebody like me who's, you know, never experienced that, and all of a sudden it's just like, I don't know what to say. Like he seems like he's doing good. He's laughing about it. You know what I mean? But like, it's that idea too, where, you know, for you as a, you know, Mr. Ryan Parker, who's kind of like, I'm come back. I'm like, this is where I grew up. This is my home, you know? And it's like, why don't you, like, you guys don't think that's interesting? Like, I'm sharing something with you here. Like, we should be able to connect on this level. And it's like, maybe this is the part where my brain is saying, you know, yes, I'm sharing these stories because this is kind of like my way of just kind of putting it out there of, yeah, this is the stuff I went through, but in a more subtle way, instead of being like, maybe, you know, maybe I do need to go talk to somebody. I don't really know who to talk to. So maybe I'll just go find the people that I might somehow relate to, and I'll share a story of this. And you bring up the part about crowds, and, you know, that probably relates to being back in the Middle East and then coming back here, where, you know, that trauma aspect of it, you know, is triggering, you know, in your brain and saying like, yeah, the crowd part, like, this is, I remember the adrenaline rush, but I'm just a civilian right now. I don't have the gear, you know what I mean?
It's
Like,
the high alert, like the hyper awareness to everything, right? That's like the biggest thing that
combing the hands, you know, looking at the bodies, watching the faces, who's what,
and it's like you come home and you know, like a trip to the movies or something is like, it's supposed to be an enjoyable experience, and there's like the old part of your brain that's like, we're gonna go see a movie, this is gonna be fun, and then there's the part of your brain that's been shaped by all this experience that makes it not fun, right? Because you get in there and you're like, oh, there's like 100 other people here, like, to see this movie, and you're right, like like that hyper awareness kind of kicks in, and you're just scanning, and it's constant. Just, it took a long time to just get back to a point where I could even feel at least a little bit at ease. And that is like, I think that, I mean, that's what really drew me, I think, to the outdoors in the first place, was like, I was having these experiences and these interactions with just regular people, which was all fine and good, but not, and for the first time in 7 years, I was kind of disconnected from that tight-knit little brotherhood. And so I didn't have the crutch, right? Like, and I don't mean them all to be a crutch. Like, those guys will probably laugh at me if they listen and hear me say that. But
the crutch team.
And it's honestly like, that's something interesting about like the care that was going on with that, and especially kind of my era veteran that just, especially, and I think the Vietnam era guys did this stuff too, but like,
we guys really did it.
We had to start like our own, like, call it like care network. Like, we all figured out, like, here's our phone numbers, here's our addresses. We all had this spreadsheet of all of us guys that served together, and we would literally, like, if somebody needed it, you know, like, we all felt more comfortable calling each other than
maybe sitting down
talking to somebody who's trained to deal with this stuff. And I emphasize that for maybe any other veterans from my era that are listening, like the folks at the VA or even outside in a lot of private practice stuff. Like, there are people who are trained and specialize in dealing with us. And it's worth the effort and worth your time and worth the conversation to reach out to those people. But, you know, like, call the guys you served with too, because at least that's a connection somewhere out, like, to someone, to something, some way that you can externalize some of this. It's not good to internalize it all. And we all did this, but I mean, there's times that I have, thrown a backpack in my truck and driven to Kentucky because somebody needed me there right now, in the middle of the night.
Yeah. And man, that's
more than once. And I've lost, buddies of mine that I served with to suicide. Some in theater, some like a decade later. I mean, that's an example. Like, it doesn't just go away over time. It doesn't get. It can get better over time.
And look at, like, you're a great example of this, and many others.
It's something that it doesn't go away, right? None of it has gone away, for me, but you learn to live with it. You learn to grow from it.
Use it.
And you're right. Exactly. And for me, that all kind of started with those, like, first conversations getting out. And I'm like, oh man, like, okay, I'm not like a lot of these people anymore. Like, and so I think, like, my pull to the outdoors was, it was a place where, it gave me a space to just not be around anybody. I was able to start shutting off that like hyper awareness of everything around me. And so it just kind of quieted my mind so that I could just start kind of processing some of it. Like, and then the river actually became like, that was my home away from home. Eventually. So at first it was backpacking. That was like my first.
No way. That's cool.
Dive into it. And I'd never done it before. But I mean, outside the military, it's just like you carry everything on your back sometimes.
I was just going to say, but
not quite the same experience. I'll say that. So backpacking was like the first thing. And the thing with the outdoors, and I think so much that we can get into in each respective avenue into the outdoors, it's like they all come with their respective set of challenges, right? And a lot of the outdoors activities that you can get into, a lot of those can be shared experiences, or they can be, very individual challenges. And so as I got into backpacking, like I remember a trip to West Virginia to the like Dolly Sods Wilderness area, and the rhododendron was so thick that like trail was just like whatever way you could kind of walk through this area. Wow. I ended up like 2 hours, like way off of any established trail, like just complete middle of nowhere. Never been here before in my life. And, I had a map and a compass, and I'd learned land navigation skills, and pretty easily found my way back. Saw the only other person I ended up seeing in 3 days when I found where these trails converged. But, like that was one of those pivotal moments of like, so in that moment when it was like, oh no, I'm lost. Right. You get that adrenaline spike again. And I was like, like,
there you go.
Here we go. But you work through these challenges, and it, like at an individual level, without all the rest of the chaos. Right. So for me, like that was what you're used to when you are dealing with these situations that are raising that. That super high stress, high adrenaline stuff. Like, everything is now. You don't have time to really like formulate.
Yeah, you don't get to sit and make a plan,
right? Yeah,
you got to go with it and do it.
Yeah. So for the first time, I had time to like, okay, stop, breathe, bring it back down a little bit, figure this out. And so like little moments like that through those challenges, I think, they translated. Like, get done with this trip, and I like, okay, I found it a little bit easier to like, if I had one of those moments that like put me back in that experience, it's like,
exactly,
wait, no, stop. All right.
Did you like, and like I was wondering about this, like when you talk about these experiences, like were you kind of like in some ways too, like you kind of like you kind of look over and you're like kind of seeing yourself in that experience again, and you're kind of going, you're like because you're in some ways you're reliving the experience, but you're having the moment to kind of go back and say, I know what I did there, what can I do here, hold on a second, this isn't like the situation I was in, but I can definitely deal with this. And it's almost like you're working through that trauma brain responses that's going on,
I think at that point in time, I wasn't having like the out of body, like not like out of body thing, but like I wasn't having that, like I didn't have that awareness of it.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
I'll put it that way. Yeah. But, like when I found my campsite and, was sitting around the fire by myself for 2 days on that particular trip, like I considered it, like, I was like, man, like, cool. It was a skill that I learned, from the military, but I never I had never really like truly put it to use outside of a couple training exercises. And I think for like in that moment, it was like one of those things because I was struggling at that time, especially with like what good actually came of this, like, I did all this stuff and man, like and like you just felt like I was like, man, I just feel like all of this was just like, it just messed me up. Like what did I take away from this that was good? And I think that in like one thing in particular was like, oh wait, I think if I look, like there are good things that I have taken away from all of this, experience. I think it's just, I have to dig a little deeper for them.
Growing, you got to grow through what you go through, and I think, you coming back and you starting to kind of your brain's responding to this, and you're starting to see this other pattern, and you decide back to backpack and whatnot, and you're kind of again putting yourself out there, and you're distancing yourself, and you're just kind of like, I'm just gonna go and essentially do me at this time. And to come in there and then have those moments of great reflection, it's a powerful moment, you know what I mean? And being out there by yourself at the same time, it's not like anybody can take that from you, because it's just you, like, it is, you are there, it's not any other.
Well, that's that self-reliance, it's it's funny, like, I mean, listening to you open up the show, it was I was like behind the scenes, like I chuckled and I was like, yeah, because like everybody's like survival story, because for so many of us, I think that experience trauma to certain levels, like it can be a survival story. But I was like, yeah, just because I didn't, I wasn't mauled by a bear and survived, and like, this fight for survival, it wasn't this like romanticized thing, right? It doesn't make it any less, right?
Exactly, dude.
And
100%, man.
but I the outdoors and like the backpacking and all that, for me, like I've always been good at being by myself, if that makes sense. Like I'm okay with being with just me.
Dude, me too. I'm very much that person.
I think that to do like, and that's the thing, is like, I think this was the right avenue for me, because I know some people do really well with like, in groups with the shared experience type stuff, and that's I can't do it. That's not me. But when I put that self-reliance on myself, it's I like puzzles, I like challenges, I like pushing myself. It's things that I've always done.
Endurance.
And so in this time that like I spent outdoors, I was reconnecting with myself, and I think I was really asking myself the question, like, okay, here's what the idea of, like, this was the idea of who I was before all this. Who am I now? And I was asking myself some pretty heavy questions, I guess. And for the first time, like, starting to like, okay, who am I now, and where do I go with this? What do I do? And
because there's no map for that, right? Is there? Like,
right.
No. You know what I mean? Like, no. There's a map to where you're hiking, where you're backpacking, but there's no map handed out to you that says, when you get to this point, you're going to go here. And when you get to that point, you're going to go here. And if you feel this, go right. And if you feel this, go left. You know,
it's not a clear-cut flow chart of like, like, with the arrows that lead you to different
feel this,
conclusions.
go this way. If you feel that, go that way. If you go,
And I think, like, learning to embrace that stuff, and that unknown, right? Like, and those moments and the situations that arise, like, like getting completely spun out lost in the middle of the wilderness area. Like I didn't plan for that.
But hey, if it happened, it happened. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like,
But
it's
yeah,
all
and
part of
that's
the
the thing. It's
adventure.
like, okay, I can sit down and give up because it happened, or okay, no, it's happened. Don't worry about why it happened. Don't be upset with
Dude.
yourself. Like now let's just laugh it off and figure out how to get out of this.
Dude, you have such a solid approach. I really admire that about you. You like just kind of like, yeah, well, if this, we're just gonna figure it out. There's a lot of people who are like,
it's been, I'm sure that it's been, in me to some extent the whole time, but I think it's, well, like everything, you learn these things and you get better by practicing them, right? Like every single one of these. So, yeah. And so all right. So like I went from backpacking to rock climbing because it was that's the natural progression that you make.
Do you still climb today?
I don't. I
still climb today.
I would probably get back into it if I I don't know. I'm such an all or nothing type person that I'm like so engrossed with just the pursuit of just a giant smallmouth, like river smallmouth. Like I'm so engrossed with it that okay,
I've already forgotten about that.
Yeah, like
it's
yeah.
I can completely relate to that aspect of it. That being a river guy.
Here's how far out of climbing I am. I haven't gotten rid of any of my gear because I'm like, I mean, maybe Argy will get it. Like my son will get into it, and like I'll start bouldering and climbing again. And
my buddy's kid does it, and when we were out in Cranbrook, British Columbia, in the Rockies, my buddy's like, yeah, like you want to go rock climbing? I'm like, well, yeah, dude. And both my kids were like, oh yeah, we got to go. And his son, he does it, and he's like, this is where he goes, and I'm like, oh, this is so cool, like it's like, yeah, and hopefully maybe your son will get into it. It looks like he's quite the outdoors guy, so
he's enjoying it so far.
That's good.
But yeah, so like I honestly think that like part of that was well, I ran into like an old childhood friend. That was like it was a holiday weekend. I actually went down to the Red River Gorge area to go backpacking and happened to just throw out the invitation on social media, and an old family friend I grew up with him. Drew had just commented. He said, hey, me and a bunch of buddies are going to be climbing down here. You should meet up with us at some point and come climb with us for a day. And I ended up spending the whole weekend down there just climbing with them. And I kind of, for the first time, like I think I found, at least for that time, like a place where I fit now. Like, okay, cool. Like here's some like-minded people that, like, I don't have to share anything out of my past if I don't want to, and we can just enjoy this thing together. And I was working as an arborist at the time, during all these climbing years, and while I was going to school and stuff. And what actually got me out of climbing, I had a 1-ton tree limb fall on me at doing some storm damage cleanup, and I came out of it like as unscathed as you could. I had a bunch of bruised vertebrae and like some no slip discs, no herniated discs, some just,
oh my god,
yeah, like it was pretty crazy. It was suspended with a rope, but under that weight, that rope stretched 3 feet or so, and I was like directly underneath this thing, and I heard it crack and come loose, and I ducked my head at the last second because it otherwise would have hit me compressed my head straight down, which would have been really bad. So it hit me in like my shoulder and my lat, that jarred my back. Yeah,
all about that.
And, sorry.
Yeah, I do.
Don't mean to bring that up for you. But in that healing process, a lot of my climbing buddies were graduating and moving away. So by the time I was like, all right, I'm ready to start climbing, I was like, oh, no one's here.
Nobody's here.
And during that time, kind of laid up, I was like, well, what can I do? And so I started. I'd always kind of wanted to learn how to fly fish, so I started like reading up and learning about that stuff. Like, well, I was kind of healing and laid up, and got myself like a cheap fly rod combo, and so all right, no climbing buddies left. I'm gonna go do this now.
Sweet, I like that.
And that's what brought me to the river and the water and fishing. It only took me an hour and 10 minutes. We got there though.
It's okay. This is all part of the story, man. Like I like this stuff. The
fishing became or the fly fishing, like it was like the aspects of backpacking that I like, this kind of exploration of new places and stuff. And and you kind of had those little bursts of adrenaline when you hook fish, and the fight and that anticipation, and certain things that I love from climbing, right? Like there's a lot of high energy, the physical exertion of climbing, and then the kind of the adrenaline factor of like, man, like I could fall right now, and so like it had some of those elements too, certainly not nearly to the level I think sometimes that climbing did, but
it's very common. It sounds like it's a very common thing amongst veterans, people who've served, that you all seem to find this adrenaline aspect. You're missing it.
It is. It's a weird thing. It's a really I have a buddy I served with that he's a skydive instructor. That's what he's done for over 10 years or so now.
I listened to a podcast where the guy talks about his need for speed.
Yeah.
And he'll go and he'll put the pedal to the metal, like he'll try and see how fast he can go. And it's literally just for that split second to relive that adrenaline rush that,
yeah, it's it was a struggle for a very long time to like let that go. There were in that, like, I mean, the speed thing is like, it's, you bring that up. I mean, for a long time, I would drive dangerously. Like, part of that is like, I was in a mobile assault platoon, so like we were in Humvees, and part of that is driving fast, because if you drive fast, people can't time it right to blow you up, basically.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of an aspect of that there, but it was like, but there was also the adrenaline factor, and like, and you do like, I don't know, like I definitely did it, and I think from at least my understanding, a lot of veterans and people who've been through this experience do this too. But it's like you do hit that point of like, it's not an invincible feeling, because that went away. Like if there's anything you like, I think people like me have taken from that experience, is that life is very fragile and finite. And I think that heightens those experiences. But you're almost, I think, as you're struggling with some of that stuff, it's like you become very self-serving with it, right? You're not taking in like others into account. And I'm still trying to wrap my head around why.
Yeah.
I think maybe to some extent it's that, I don't know if it's like trying to make up for lost time or what it quite is, but because you spent all that time like not caring about yourself, right? And then you like, and maybe that's it. Like I've been caring for everyone else and everyone around me, to unhealthy levels, right? And you just never take a second for yourself. And I don't know. I still think about that. I'm like a grandpa driving now. Like if I'm 5 over the limit, I'm like, oh,
Whoa.
uh-oh. Like, oh, I'm driving a little too quick here. Like,
Yeah. Ooh, I'm in a
but
hurry
there was a
today.
time where it was like I would be 15 over all the time, and like that was just my regular speed, and then there were times that you fall back into some weird funk that like I don't, like just I don't care, and
Yeah, I'm just giving.
yeah, it's just dangerous for you and everyone else, and um,
Adrenaline.
yeah, like that's what
That's what it
that's
is.
what you're chasing, and you can't. It took a long time to like kind of learn to let that go. Like, hey, like that's just let it go. It's you don't need it. And I think it may be to some extent, the like the same things that like trigger with addicts.
Yeah.
Like adrenaline is a drug, and
Oh
your
yeah.
body can produce, and when like the spikes that you get from those experiences of like firefights and those high
I
stress
was just
things,
gonna
like
say that fight or
they're
flight.
like I think that's maybe what it is. It's like you end up getting addicted to those spikes, that like that
Yeah.
high level of adrenaline, and you just need it and need it and need it. And yeah. See,
But
I'm learning stuff right now.
this is cool. I like this.
Yeah.
So like just like I can see why the fishing aspect of it, especially fly fishing, or just to go out there and to the whole prestigious way of fishing, slapping that fly onto that water, and those the just the action of pulling the line and
It's
going.
a rhythm and a focus that
Yeah.
like I, you have to like it's funny, like I've encountered this with just fishing in general, but like and I've encountered it with hunting and things like that, where the days that you seem to be the most successful, um maybe and successful to your end goal, your target,
Yeah.
right? Like, are you out there trying to catch a bunch of giants, or catch as many fish as you want, like, but it seems to me that those days are the days that you can kind of like I say slow your mind down enough to become so in tune with what like everything around you, that like
You just focus.
it's the zone, right? It's
Yeah,
like
you're
you
focused.
hear athletes talk about it, like, oh, I was in the zone, and it's that, right? Like you were so one with everything else around you, in tune with it
Exactly.
all, that like
Um,
it's almost like you're just conjuring these fish onto your hook sometimes. And like I think you've like I found that with fly fishing, like, and I think because there's so much like mechanics involved with the whole thing,
yeah,
like
it really is.
and and that's I think that was the allure to me, was like, one, I've just kind of always wanted to try it, and I live in Ohio, which is like, it's like your brain is like, fly fishing is only for trout, and I'm like, there's one place to catch trout in
Oh,
a
no
river
way.
in all of Ohio. Yeah, I think there's more than like there's like three, but it's not much until like the steelhead run up out of Lake Erie into the
Oh,
Erie Trail,
yeah,
which
yeah.
yeah, um, but it rekindled that fishing. Like I grew up fishing as a kid, and I would like spend days by myself just doing it, as a kid.
Nice.
And so it kind of rekindled that, though, and it took some elements of the backpacking and the climbing and things like that, and I recognized those connections there. And I mean, what ultimately led me to the kayak was like I got to the point where like I was like, I can't wade or walk further. I've hit private property, water
Yeah,
that's too
yeah.
deep, and I can't get, like I can't
How am
go
I
any
gonna get
further.
there?
Yeah, I
And
just
you
can't
can't get
go
a
any
boat in
further.
it, because
Yeah, and so it's like that was at that time too, I ended up doing a lot of traveling. I managed a band for a while, and you and I
Yeah.
have talked about that.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
that was a big 3-year chunk of time that I was doing like fly fishing and band. So I was on the road, like just traveling in a van with those guys. So music was a big part of that, but just the travel in general, that aspect, spending probably about 5 months a year, just
On the
in a
road.
van traveling with those
Yeah.
guys all over the country. And that, that satisfied, I will always, I think, have this restlessness of, that like I can't stay in one place too long. And that the band thing was like at that time, like my late 20s and early 30s, like it was um like that was perfect because I didn't ever want to be in one place. So it was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Like you're great. You're in just a different place every single day.
Literally, like you
Um,
spend so much time driving, and then you get there, you offload, and you're at the
yeah.
venue, and then next thing you know, you do the show, and then you're packing it up, and before you know it, you're like, oh,
Yep.
it's
Yep.
morning, and you're
Like
pulling
cool.
into
Yeah, I'm
the next
rolling to a
city.
sleeping bag on the floor and
Yeah,
I'm gonna be up in a few hours and we're driving.
yeah,
But that traveling, to all these different places, you're experiencing all, different people all the time. And but those drives, like there are certain drives that no matter how many times I do them or if I never do them again, like I think they'll always be, these special places and like driving up through Montana, skirting like Glacier National, like you descending into the Columbia River Valley. And like, there are just certain places that are like, just will forever stand out in my mind. Um, but like seeing all that too. And this is, I'm like, all right, like I said, I'm like kind of all into one thing. And like, okay,
yeah.
like at this point, fishing, fly fishing, and like fishing in general is my thing, but like fly fishing especially. And I'm like looking at all this stuff, like the trout waters in Montana and Colorado and California and stuff like that. I'm
A
like, man,
lot of trout,
I need to come
trout
back
out
out
there.
here and this and that. And the drummer of the band, my buddy Murph, he always kind of grew up fishing too. And at some point, like he and I like go to like a Dick's Sporting Good, and we just got like just cheap little travel spinning rods because we could fit them underneath the back seat of the van, nestled up against the merch, safe and sound back there. And so then he and I
Nice.
would just find like we would just, we had, everybody has smartphones at this point, so we just pull up the maps and we're like, oh, there's a pond over here. We should go see if we can get into that. We should go see if we
Cool.
can get into this and that. And um,
The adventure.
so we started doing that while we were on the road, and yeah, get done kind of, and then I kind of like call it put in my 2 weeks with the band, and it's like, all right, I'm doing, I'm opening a new chapter, I'm doing some new stuff. And but that was about the time I kind of like put down the fly rod because Murph and I started fishing a lot more, and I was like, fly rod's like the places he and I go to. I was enjoying his company, and I was like, I can't really fly fish in these places. So I got, but around us we had smallmouth like all over. Not like world class smallmouth fisheries. Don't get me wrong, but they're here within. I've got 4 or 5 places that are like 15, 20 minutes from home.
That's cool.
Creeks, rivers that I can go to that, yeah, that I can catch quality and numbers, and not like you're not catching trophies out of there, but quality. You could catch
It's
a.
still fun to catch.
What's that?
They're still fun to catch.
Yeah.
Like, big one
And
or
so
small
that
one.
like that's what really like started the love of the smallmouth for me. And then I got a kayak, and because I couldn't wait any further. I was like, I hit the end of that rope, and I actually started borrowing one of Murph's kayaks a lot. And so I was
Oh,
like, all
no
right,
way.
like here we go. This is I like this. But then I got my own, and I was like, wait, there's all these lakes I can get out onto now. And so I started exploring that, and I'm like, all right. And then I meet some guys. They're like, "Hey, you should fish the Buckeye Kayak Fishing Trail, which is the only tournament trail in the state of Ohio at the time. There's many now, like little regional things, and they're a lot of fun. But so I started doing that. So I got heavy into largemouth just because that's what that trail kind of encompassed for the most part. Started fishing a lot of lakes but and that's what ultimately got me into the tournament fishing in general. But this is, I say all that, there's like so much going on, with this
Well, yeah,
journey,
like
right? Journey to calm water, right?
yeah.
At some point, I was drinking way too much, and I ended up with they call them OVIs in Ohio, operating a vehicle while intoxicated.
Oh.
Like, I mean, there's no downplaying it. It is what it is. There's a standard, and it's set. Like, it was barely over, but I mean, that was a big eye-opening moment of like, hey, you're okay, not in a good place, buddy.
Yeah.
And
Red flag,
yeah, so that's like in the middle of all this stuff. This is right around the ban time frame. This is actually right before the ban time frame.
Ooh.
Yeah, like it wasn't even. I'll tell you what. Like everybody who saw like the first Spinal Tap and thinks it's all crazy.
Yes.
I can tell you that the life, like, you get done with a show and you sweat your ass off emptying out a venue and packing up a van load and trailer load of stuff.
I know all about it, dude.
You race to a hotel, you might have a beer, and then you fall asleep to get up in like 4 hours and like load everything back and like do it all
or
over.
You drive through the night, like,
yeah, or you drive through the night and
take turns
it is not a glamorous lifestyle. Not what a lot of people think of.
I don't even know, like the idea that you party and you do this every night. It was like, no, like
I think that's what actually, like, I would like get done with these and I'd kind of like, all right, I've been responsible for like so much of the logistics on the road. I'd get done with like a month on the road and I'd get home and I was like, I'm not doing anything for a week except for like I'm gonna like just
unwind.
Right.
Can I ask you one thing?
Yeah.
When you, like, from the point that you began to notice that like you just, there's like things just weren't, there's something going on, something in your head, or just the drinking and all this. Did you ever kind of get to those points where you were like, maybe I should go talk to somebody?
Yeah.
And like, did it take you a couple times to go through that mindset?
Yes.
Because like I definitely went through that mindset when like with my drinking. Like I was like, maybe I do need to like go and talk to somebody about this because like I can't get a handle on this. Like,
actually I went through that a lot, like right when I first got out, and I tried. I actually sat down and like talked to a few people, and it was just like I don't think I was ready to, and I don't think that I understood, I think necessarily I don't think I understood the path to healing then, right? And I don't think it was presented in a very understanding way. It felt very clinical when I first reached out, right? Like it was, and not. I think we've come a long way since then. And I specifically utilize my the resources that were available to me as a veteran with the VA, and it's a good place to look because like the people who are on the behavioral health, mental health staff there, all the trained professionals are literally they this is what they specialize in. That's why they're there. And And I think that first bad experience, though, kept me from going back for quite some time. And I've learned through my own journey that, like, man, like, finding the right therapist is as important as talking to one, right? In the first place.
Yeah.
Because not every, if you look at like how many different, like, call them treatment options there are. I don't like the word treatment. Like,
I know I
um,
agree with you on that one.
avenues for success, right? Like, we're gonna say,
Exactly.
like,
I like that so well put.
there
I
are a
really like
lot
that.
more avenues, like, in this broad spectrum of a thing. There are a lot of avenues for success, and not every one of them is going to work for you. So you have to kind of go through and figure that out. But I think that if you ask yourself those, like, be alone with yourself for a bit and ask yourself those questions, like, how well do you know yourself? Because you can weed some of those things out pretty quick. Like, oh, I don't want to do the group thing. That's not who I am. That's not, like, I knew that about myself. And
but you sound like you're willing to be open and honest with, how you're feeling, and I think that there, probably
yeah,
takes a little bit of time to kind of come to. And you made another point too, that you got to want help. You know what I mean?
yes, yeah,
And
you can't force it. If you don't
you
go
can't.
into it, it's, I've used the analogy, like, when I quit smoking, you can't quit smoking by just stopping, right? Like, by just, like, okay, like, oh, no more cigarettes,
Yeah.
like, done,
Cold
right?
turkey, I think they call
Right.
that.
Well, even cold turkey still implies that you're making an effort, right? Like, you have it up here that
Very
I'm
good point.
quitting,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Okay.
Like, if cigarettes just, if you just decide, like, I'm not smoking today,
Yeah.
and we'll just see where it goes from here. Ultimately, you end up running to the convenience store and grabbing a pack of smokes. Like, that's just
It's
been
probably
there, done it
bound to
too many
happen.
times, right? Like,
Yeah, dude.
been down that avenue. But the moment that you say, like, yeah, I like, and for me, it was like I knew my kid was on the way, right? I was like, man, like, I thought about it. I was like, man, like, I mean, at some point in life, if he picks up smoking, at least he'll hit. If I quit, like, he'll have never learned it from me, and that was important to me. And I, like, I remember, and I actually ended up using Chantix. It worked for me. Didn't,
Champagne.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I know. Yeah. I've
it was,
taken that.
yeah, and it was. You got to be careful with it because there's some weird side effects.
I was gonna say, like,
Yeah.
the side effects were super weird, and it was weird dreams.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
was just gonna,
That was
I'm
it.
just
I think I only
thinking
made it through,
you.
like, maybe a couple weeks, like 2.5 weeks, I think, is all I ended up taking. I literally remember the moment I was like, oh, this is, nope, done, and I never touched him ever, since then.
So I did
But
Champax right around the time my son was born. Too, because I was like, I gotta quit smoking. Gonna be a dad. Can't be,
yeah,
having
it's
cigarettes with the baby in the arms. Like,
right. I
but I
think that's
wasn't
like,
ready. I wasn't.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. But you have to go into it, whether you do use Chantix or
yeah,
or just want to quit, right? Like, you have to have it in the back of your mind, like, I do want to quit. Like, in the same way that you go into therapy, it's in the back of your mind, like, I want to get better, right?
yeah,
And it's something I tell my son all the time. It was like, like, it's okay to make mistakes. That's how we learn, right? What we do with those mistakes and how we learn is the more important lesson here. Like,
are we repeating those
right.
mistakes?
I tell him, I was like, look, you don't have to be perfect or good at anything right now. The goal is to maybe just be a little bit better tomorrow. You know, like each day, just try to be a little bit better. And I say that to him, you know, with like little stuff of, you know, trying to tie his shoes or whatever it might be. But, you know, I tell myself that just on a human level, right? Um, like every single day when I leave my house, when I get up in the morning, I actually have like right by my coffee maker, my buddy Shane. He does. He's an artist, and he does this series. He calls them the morning songs, and it's little, just a little pen and ink drawing of whatever song he wakes up with stuck in his head. Um, and
That's cool.
one day he did a Tom Waits song, and it just has a flower like dropping a petal, but the lyric from the song is "Don't plant your bad days." And the following portion of those lyrics, if you're familiar with the song, you know it. If you're not, it's because they'll go on to grow into they'll go on to grow into bad weeks, bad months, bad years.
I really like that.
So that like sits there, but like, you know, when I say like tell my son, like I'm trying to like put this in his brain now, because I wish somebody would have when I was like that little, or you know, like growing up, and was like when I tell myself like just try to be a little bit better than yesterday. You know, it's be a little bit kinder, be a little bit, you know, nice, you know, like just whatever it is, like whatever I'm doing with my day, my time, you know, try to be a little bit better of a father, be a little bit better of a husband, be a little bit better person at the grocery store, in traffic, wherever you go. And I think that's important. In this same
very much so is.
like for your own healing too, because that's kind of where all this started, was with you know, when I really dove into like therapy, and I was like, I got paired with like 3 bad therapists in a row that just didn't, they weren't bad, I don't want to say bad, they just weren't right for me.
Yeah, the connection wasn't
at
there
that time.
Yeah.
Like I actually still took stuff away from that, but it was like I got you know, placed with them. It was almost like out of order, right?
Yeah.
And so when I finally hit the right one, you know, and you get to a certain point of that healing, you're like, oh my God, now I know what John was talking about with this thing. You know, like one of the other therapists or whatever, and like, oh, that's what Kristen meant with that. Like, I just wasn't there yet, right? In the whole journey of figuring that out. And but you have to go into it with an open mind and definitely wanting to change, and it's not easy. It's not easy. Like, don't go into it thinking it's easy, because it can be easy if you're good at like being by yourself up here. And really thinking through things and asking yourself,
living in solitude,
asking yourself hard questions and being honest with yourself, because that's a really important, or like really difficult thing to do.
You beg the mirror of accountability, you know, like that aspect of it, you know. I think too, that idea that we show up every day and we just want to be the best, we want to rep ourselves and be the best representation of who we are, and that we aren't going to judge others, and instead we're going to just judge who we were yesterday. And just try and be better from that. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I took through in my own recovery, my healing, is that, like, yeah, Ian, you said it earlier in the podcast, but you talked about, like, we just got to get through today. I'm not going to worry about tomorrow. I'm just going to worry about today. And I used, you know, and I would just say, you know, I just get through Tuesday. I get through Tuesday, you know. And I think when you reach a point when you're willing to be raw and real with yourself, it is it's just such an important aspect of it, because you as an individual are going to grow, and every time you keep showing up, because every time you show up and you have those moments where you're willing to be real and raw with yourself, um it's as scary as it might seem, you can actually walk away and you can feel not just a sigh of relief, but walk away with another tool in your pocket, in that back pocket, that you can use day in, day out. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I had, like, because we're not broken. Like nobody's broken. Like
Yeah,
it's
I think that's another,
oh,
like
we're not broken. Like
it's
nobody.
a terrible misconception that I
Oh,
think so many of
I
us
do
kind
not
of get
like
in our
that
head
term.
is like, oh, that we're broken for feeling this way or doing this. Is like, no, you're absolutely not broken. This is exactly how, you know, it's all human, right? Like
Yeah,
this is the
it's so
human
human, dude.
response to this stuff. These extenuating circumstances. This is the body's defense for all this. It's not being broken. It. You don't understand it. I think is part of
Yeah,
it, and that's a big part of. I think at least my own, recovery with this is like was learning, like learning to understand why my body is doing the way my body and brain are doing the things that they're doing,
yeah,
and when you can understand that, then you can actually approach it, um, and like positively approach it. So and understanding yourself to some again to so many ends is like, are you someone that thrives on physical activity and routine and doing like so like okay like yes that I certainly do. I know myself like
yeah.
so yeah like okay 5 a.m. wake up, I'm straight down into my basement to the gym. I'm anywhere from even if it's like and I mean I actually no it's not straight downstairs into the gym. I wake up 20 minutes of yoga. I'm not I'm not ashamed to say that, especially as I near 40 and
Mm,
keep getting older. I'm very happy that I keep my joints healthy.
dude,
Um,
I stretch every day,
yeah,
so
yeah.
I
It's yoga's a fancy term for stretching.
yeah, it is.
It's yeah, stretch. There's also like you can like triggering certain nerves, especially in your neck and shoulders, by stretching all that stuff out, relieves a lot of tension. There's some like interesting practice to it,
I'm
that
all for
ties
it every
all
day.
right into this stuff. But that is 20 minutes of that, and then straight down, and I'm 20 to usually 20 to 45 minutes of
You're taking care of you.
some degree of working out because like
Hey,
well I was literally just having this conversation with my kid earlier, because he was upset earlier that he was on the playground and he was playing Johnny's game and he didn't have enough time to do what he wanted to do by the end of it. And
oh,
well, buddy, I was like, who's going to prioritize you and your time better than you? Like you have to prioritize yourself. like,
yeah,
if there's something that you want to do, like make sure that you set time aside for yourself to do this stuff.
it's funny you bring up the son aspect of it, because my son is 12, and I tell him all the time. I say, if you want to do something, I want to know the plan, and I want a real plan. Okay, and if you don't have a plan,
I'm stealing
don't
that.
don't come and ask me, because I'm gonna ask you if you have a plan. So the one time he's like, "Yep." He calls me at like 2 o'clock. I'm like, "Hey, dude, what's up?" He's like, "Hey, Dad, I'm probably gonna go over to so and so's house, and we're gonna hang out there." I'm like, "Well, what's the plan?" "Well, we're gonna hang out there, and then we're gonna do this, do that." I'm like, "Okay." And then like, what time would I pick you up at? Well, I'd probably pick you up around whatever time. yeah, okay, no, that works. All right. And nothing else? Nope. And I'm like, dude, it wasn't like, hey, dad, can I go over here? It was just like, hey, dad,
Yeah.
this is the plan. This is what we're going to do. This is the time you should pick me up at. And I just want to let you know, does this plan work? And I was like, oh
It's
my gosh, what do we got going on here, man? You're doing it. I like it. I like it.
if if you have kids and you want to know your own tendencies, look at your kids.
So well put.
It's I catch myself so often like thinking to myself like, man, I needed that. I'll give my 5-year-old advice and he'll walk away probably contemplating whatever the heck dad just said. Like, what, I don't know what the
Yeah.
but as he leaves the room and I think to myself like often like I needed that advice today. But like I catch so many of my own tendencies watching him, work through problems and do stuff that I'm like, huh, like it's interesting. And so I
Kids will do that to you.
Yeah.
Like and the older they get, they,
Yeah.
obviously
As
parenting is challenging.
as I have built this toolbox of skills to learn that I've learned to deal with all this stuff, I try to teach all that to him where it applies because I see certain tendencies in him that I'm like, oh yeah, that comes straight from dad.
Yeah. Oh, I agree with that one.
Let me just put a tool in your box for you at 5 years old so that one day you don't have to try and figure out where to get that at 35.
Yeah. I, in this past year, we made some pretty big changes in my household, and I've watched two kids. For me, it was, one of those things where I was like, I'm watching myself now, and I'm going, like, man, I'm so proud of both of you in the way that you handle things and the way that you were open and honest with me about things. And I'm like, I don't know if I was in their shoes at their age, if I went through, some big changes in life, that I don't know if I would have dealt with it that way. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I just think it's really cool to see that, maybe, just at the same time that, the things that, we've gone through, the things that we've dealt with, the experiences that have happened in our lives, and the way that we have come out have really shaped the way that we also show up every day for our children.
Yeah.
And yeah.
If I think as bleak as some things may have looked, at your worst, going through this journey and coming out on this end of it, and working through it in positive ways, it's like you said, it's not easy, it's tough, but the resilience that you come out with, and I think a greater understanding of the bigger picture, I think of life, not just existing, but of actual living, with fullness. I think you come out
being
of it
present every
yes.
day.
I think that you come out of it, in a much better place and better off than anybody who doesn't take the time to maybe reflect on that type of stuff.
Reflection is something I do every Sunday. If you want to talk about yoga, I got another one for you. I meditate.
Yeah.
And I love meditation. I've been doing it for over 6 years, and I'm so comfortable with meditation. I can go to a gym, the Planet Fitness in my town, and I'm not kidding. I go to the stretching area, and when I'm done, I put my headphones on. Well, they're already on, but I switch over off the playlist. I go to another one, and I can literally leave the planet for 10 minutes and just meditate. And that meditation to me is just so key because it just resets me for the week ahead.
Yeah.
And that is just so important to do it. And it's something that I really, when I first started, I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'll try it. Somebody had suggested it, and I continued it, and I've been continuing it. And no matter where I'm at, what I'm doing, it gets done. But I just feel like it helps strengthen, like the gym strengthens your muscles. It gives you everything you need. But when you can strengthen your mind,
Yeah.
it plays even harder on your muscles and the physical aspect
There's
of it.
it's the most overlooked thing, right? Like if
Yeah.
you know if you're a gym person, you know how important rest is.
Oh
Like
my gosh.
rest is as important as, you know, the like properly
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
training everything else. But like and that ties into it. Like I do meditate.
Nice.
Probably not as regularly as I should. I should definitely make it a
Hey,
better
you do it when
practice, but
do it for
I
you,
do
you
get
know?
it in. And oftentimes my reflection is done on the water. It is kind of I it's funny, you know, social media is such a funny place where it's like if you follow me on Instagram, you'd swear I fish every single day.
I thought your
Um,
house is on the water or something
I
like that. You live in a van down by the river, you know?
one day a week. One day a week is usually what I get in. If I'm lucky too. Um, but it
Uh,
is you know, part of my time on the water is just it's reflecting on the
uh,
past week, the past day, the certain moments of it. Yeah, and but that reflection, the meditation, taking that time to do that, your your nights become actually restful. You're not tossing and turning. You're not worried about this thing that happened the other day or earlier today or tomorrow or like
you found peace.
yeah, being
And
if you can bring yourself back into being present now, like you can
oh, dude, like
wind it all down right now. Like
with you know, I think just like this whole idea of calm water, you know, everybody deserves calm water. Like, you know, life doesn't need to be rapids all the time and heavy current.
that's
And
I
if you can find that calm water, you just have this opportunity to look at life in a new way. You know, and you'd be surprised. You know, I think it'd be one of those things that I think I was finding it for, you know, for all these years that I, you know, and it wasn't until somebody said, you know, you deserve calm water, and I was like, that is such a great analogy. Like and like I'm like I'll be honest, when that person said it to me, like I was just about, you know, I was just about, you know, I felt the, you know, the heaviness of, you know, just those words hitting me. Um and yeah, you know, the idea that calm water, and it's just, you know, it's funny that it's said to a guy that like loves the river, and you know the river isn't always the calmest of places, but yet we're drawn to it, and
there's
yet it gives us, you know, a sense of calm and that peacefulness and a chance to revisit and reflect on who we are, you know.
yeah, there's I Emerson. I remember reading this in, you know, some of Emerson's essays or one of Emerson's essays, and it's just he talks about the rejuvenating qualities of nature, and it that has always stuck with me, and I've always felt that, you know, like um and it's funny you talk about like, you know, just disappearing for 10 minutes in the middle of a Planet Fitness. It's like I live in, Columbus. If I go fishing, I can go fishing, on one of the rivers 15 minutes from home, which means I'm going to probably end up under some interstate bridges and, just constant city buzz and noise all
Yeah,
around, but like in those moments, like not I, like it, that interstate highway may as well not exist to me.
exactly.
Because, just because of the headspace that I'm in when I'm in that space. Um, and it's funny, like years ago, when I was really really in the brunt of this journey, my wife, she would just tell me, she's like, "You're grumpy, go fishing, like you're grumpy, go fishing." And this is like before kids and everything else. Like we were, for those of you who don't know, my wife and I have known each other since we were 19 years old. um,
Wow.
we didn't date until our like late 20s. We didn't start dating until our late 20s.
Wow.
And but yeah, we've known each other for 20 years, which is like, I say that out loud and it like blows my mind every
I,
time I say that.
and do you think, back then you would be sitting and being like, yeah, we've literally known each other for 20 years. Like back then you thought, did you think,
No,
you'd
no,
be,
not at all. And
you
and
know,
honestly, like we both agree that, like, man, had we like dated or had any sort of like romantic involvement at 19 or like thereafter, shortly thereafter, it
oh
was
man.
like, oh my God, it would have been a mess. Like, um,
Yeah,
so
dude.
yeah,
That's oh wow.
but yeah, so she used to tell me, like, hey, you're like, you should go fishing. You're grumpy.
She
um,
knows,
but like, I think like she recognized like that that's your happy place. That's like where you come back better, like better than when you left. Like you're in a better mood, you're in a better headspace. Like even if it's just for a couple hours. And before it used to take all day, but now like an hour after work or on a lunch break or something like that. Like it's yeah.
I think it's I will take any opportunity to go and spend some time on the river, but to just go and um just cast a rod. My son and I and my daughter will fish, and I'm like, you guys take me to the spot, like wherever you. My son will be like, let's go here. And I'm like, okay, so we go there, and sometimes we get lucky, sometimes we don't. But I'll tell you this: I had not gone fishing since after my accident in October. I literally did not touch anything to do with fishing. I just focused on other things. And in I think it was like May, my son's like, you want to go fishing? I was like, yeah, sure. So he's like, I'm gonna get my rod ready. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, maybe I should go get it. So I went and grabbed a rod and put a couple of baits in a little box. And anyways, we all headed out. And I tell you, that first cast of just hearing that bait hit the water and then just reeling it back in, it was therapy within itself.
Yeah.
It and I'll be honest, that trip we didn't catch anything. Like we went out there, it was really windy, it was cold. It was just, and we tried multiple things, but it was just so,
It's
it's like, I don't know how to explain it. Like
it's refreshing. I think
yeah,
it's like
yeah,
what comes to my mind. And
yeah.
like I
I
try to
like that.
remind myself, sometimes I get so focused on the fishing, and this is certainly, especially like with tournaments, like you get so focused on like, okay, I got to catch fish. Like tournaments are the worst at it, that you kind of lose sight of like just appreciating everything that's around you. Um,
Yep.
like, and I try to be consciously aware of that. Like if I'm because to me that constant like go of like the tournament mindset is, to me, that's as much spinning out as not catching fish in that same that same scenario.
100%.
Because if you can't slow yourself down, like, you may be doing yourself a disservice. But and that's just a comment pretty directed at specifically tournament fishing. But I think like that same lesson can be applied in a much broader
Oh,
sense
100%,
of
dude.
like, learn to slow down and appreciate everything around you. I think that's the big takeaway, because it's, yes, we all want to catch that next PB, but appreciate the fact that you can be on the water
Oh,
and
God, yeah.
surrounded by all that, and just be in that moment, like, while you're in that moment.
Yeah, it's for me, it's like it's a chance to be present, with everything around me in that moment, and being present in this day, and just grateful to be here and grateful to be out here, and whatever chooses to cross my path while I'm out on the river, big or small, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
is just, it's, I don't know, I'm just grateful
it's
for it.
it's a practice in gratitude. And that's an
Exactly.
important thing to do. Like, I'll reiterate that point any chance I get. Like, these things, they might seem silly at first, but the more you practice them and do them, it normalizes it. And I think that I think we could all use a little more of that. Practice, like, find things that you're grateful. Don't dwell on the doom and gloom. Like, I have buddies that are like, oh my God, like, I'm sorry I'm running late. Like, if we plan a river trip or something, and they're like, oh, I'm sorry I'm running late. I've overslept my alarm. I forgot that. Well, I was like, dude, don't worry about it. Like, the fish are always going to be in the water.
Yeah.
I don't care. Like, it's not what it's about.
Yeah.
We'll have fun. We're gonna have fun. We'll probably catch fish. Like, it's not a big deal. We'll get to where we're going when we get there.
Now, as like, as we come to the end of this, uh, if you were to give advice to somebody you feel like might be in your, wasn't like, is in the shoes you once were in before you came out this far, what would you tell them?
I think I would start with telling them, you're okay. Be okay with not being okay.
I like that.
And don't be afraid to get help. It comes in different forms and in so many different ways. So don't ignore that. It doesn't have to be from somebody licensed. It may come from some place, someone that you don't expect. But don't turn it away. Embrace it. It's I think one of the most terrifying things you can do is to face the unknown. But one of the most important things to do is to embrace it. Embrace the unknown. You may not know where it takes you, but it oftentimes you come out much better on the other side of it, having embraced it, and doing the hard things.
Yeah, having that, you can't have growth without a process. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's really that's really well put, man. Ryan, I want to thank you very much for coming on the River Run podcast, Calm Water. This is Ryan's story. This is the Ryan Parker. dude, thank you once again. If you want to let anybody know where they can find you on the social media, also don't forget, always find Ryan Parker on Thursday nights too with the Dark Horse guys on the lives there.
Yeah, thanks for having me. If you want to follow along with my adventures in fishing and among some other things, follow me on Instagram at ParkerFishing1242.
Awesome. Well, as this podcast comes to an end, I hope you enjoyed it. Calm Water is a segment. It is here for anyone who feels, I hope you all can find calm water if you're going through anything, feeling challenged. Take time for you. If you're not okay, it is okay to not be okay. And at the end of the day, we all got to take care of each other, brothers and sisters, and everything. So I hope you all find peace and happiness. And at the end of the day, thank you very much for watching Calm Water. This is Ryan Parker's story.
Thank you for tuning in to the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. We hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget, for future shows, like, follow, share, and hit that subscribe button. Make sure you check out our individual channels and accounts too. Want to be a guest on one of our shows and talk of adventures, gear, or products? Contact us. Thank you for watching The Noob Show with Matt Gibson, Chasing the Tide with Dustin Nichols, The Rusty Hook with John Rapp, The River Run with Adam Fraser Pross, May Contain Fishing with Daniel Woodcock, Chasing the 20s with Carlisle Esterly and Sean Lavery, Friday Night Bites with Brian Schiller. Thanks for tuning into the Paddle and Fin Network. Subscribe and always wear your PFD.